Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Perfectionism Project, a podcast full of perfectionism advice for entrepreneurs. My name is Sam Laura Brown. I help entrepreneurs release their perfectionism handbrake so they can get out of their own way and build a fulfilling and profitable business. I'm the founder of the Perfectionists Getting Sh group coaching program, which is otherwise known as PGSD. And for even more perfectionism advice to help you with your business, you can follow me on Instagram at Perfectionism Project. Okay, so today I am sharing with you an episode that was originally part of a series called the Self-Trust Selling series that I shared with our PGSDers. And I just want to leave that episode intact as it is. So I'm just doing this little intro to let you know that in the episode, I talk about my one-on-one coaching and I'm now fully booked. So that isn't currently available. If you want to work with me, you want to be inside Perfectionist Getting Shit Done, we are doing our next open enrollment. So exciting. Our next open enrollment is happening on the 30th of January, 2026 for 1 week only. So you want to get yourself on the PGSD waitlist and get yourself inside so we can support you to get out of your own way in your business and release your perfectionism handbrake and show up the way you want to be showing up in your business so you can get it off the ground and do that without burning out. So I'm just doing this little preamble to let you know that this episode will be talking within it about my one-on-one coaching and that, instead you want to be inside PGSD because that's what's on offer for how to work with me in 2026. So with that said, I hope you find this episode incredibly, incredibly helpful. Okay, so I was just talking to one of my one-on-ones about this. I want to share with you about the value of having support while you are traveling, while you are resting and on holiday, while you are, and this has been such an experience for me, like the value of having business support while you are pregnant and postpartum. I have now been through having 4 kids, including twins, been through 3 pregnancies, 3 postpartums. They've all been wildly different. And having support in place is always more helpful than not having support in place. And I just want to talk about this because it's easy in business. And I've just seen this with my clients and my past self as well. It's easy to be in this mentality that if I'm not like actively working on my business, then I don't need to have business support. And I want to talk about an experience that I had with this because I did it differently this postpartum to how I did it previously, and it made a world of difference. So the first time, let me think where to start this. The first time I was pregnant, I had my daughter Lydia, and I didn't have any coaching. Was I in a program or anything during that? Not when I gave birth. I wasn't. I had been previously, but then pretty much maybe like 2 months after, I signed up to work with a coach who was supporting me with showing up on social media and different things like that, specifically Instagram, because I just felt called to just like show up and share on Instagram. So I worked with her, super helpful to have support. And then I signed up for a mastermind, which was Stacey Bayman's 200K mastermind when Lydia was 4 months old. 4 months old? Yeah. So then with that, I basically did a deep dive into all the things there, had so many breakthroughs, and then I had the biggest launch for PGSD when Lydia was 6 months old. We had 51 people sign up for PGSD and made multiple 6 figures in that launch. And I had COVID, I had a 6-month-old, all of that. And just from having support, instead of being like, well, I'm not really working right now, which I wasn't. I was kind of just chilling, hanging out with friends, taking it easy. I still was working on my business a little bit, but like I was really in this like taking it easy mode. And I just felt still like I still want to be growing the business, and I love having a container, a process to follow. So this is why as well with the one-on-one coaching that I do, there's also a curriculum, like the self-trust selling process that you have access to, so that you don't just have to wait for calls to learn things that you can binge it right away if you want, as many clients do. You have the full self-trust selling process so that you can work on that at your own pace as well. You're not having to wait for me to kind of like unlock, like, here's what to work on. You can do that. And so I love offering that because that's how I personally love to learn. I love to have ongoing support. And I love to have like, here's the lay of the land. Here's the high level view. Here's the process to follow. So that in the case of self-trust selling, so that you can make sales in an aligned way that's within your ideal work hours, that has you really shining and growing, not from a place of trying to force yourself to be better, but growing in the sense that you are finally allowing yourself to letting yourself be, to let yourself shine, to let yourself do things the way you do things and not have to do things the way everyone else does things. And so I have a whole process for that you get access to. And part of that is when I signed up for that mastermind, I didn't even have to wait for any of the calls. I just like watched like different bits. I was just like, I'm going to get exactly what I need to get when I need to get it. And I did. And I had key breakthroughs that allowed me to trust myself and just like make up my own plan for a launch. I didn't learn like, here's the what to do. What I learned was there's some basic first principles and then just do it however you want. I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to do it the way that is easiest for me. Had great success with that. And then, so that was like that experience that I had. And then I had in 2022, I continued to be in that mastermind. I made $600,000 that year, became pregnant with the twins in the middle of the year. And then when it came to being about to give birth, Lydia was 19 months old when the twins were born. So I was going to have 3 kids under the age of 2. And my brain, I was like, I have no idea what that's going to be like. My desire to work didn't go away when I had Lydia. I loved, even though I was like, I should have a mat leave and I shouldn't do things and whatever, which I'm not in those thoughts anymore about postpartum and all of that. But at the time I was. But then Steve and I were like, let's start this other business. And like my brain just like wants to be working on something. So when it came to actually allowing myself to work and to do things, like I had when it was that first postpartum, I still wanted to do stuff. But when it came to the twins postpartum, I just felt like there was just so much uncertainty. I was like, I have no idea what it's going to be like to have twins and a toddler at the same time, because Lydia was 19 months old. She couldn't really speak yet besides saying like mama, dada, those kind of things. So I have 3 kids who like Lydia only just started walking and no one can talk and like all of that and just like heavily dependent. And I have no idea, therefore, how much I'm going to want to work during that period. And I want to set things up so that I don't have any pressure to work. And so what I did as part of that, was the support I had that was working really well for me, which was that mastermind, I didn't sign up for it again. And part of that is because no one had yet told me about the value of continuing to have business coaching so long as you have a business. And I still had a business. And even though I wasn't knowing how much I was going to be working, I just hired a full-time marketing manager. So I had my first full-time employee. I had PGSD, which had hundreds of clients in it and people getting coached every week. And like my business was still very much alive. And I wasn't putting it on pause. Even if I was personally having time away, I'd set things up in my business so that it could keep growing. But I was like, I don't want to have pressure to keep like working and like going after big things when I'm in this season. So therefore, it's not a good time for me to actually have coaching and that kind of support because of the season I'm in. And I am so grateful that I was able to shift into a different belief. So when I had Liam, who is now 6 months old, I got myself so much support. Because when I didn't have support, not only was I then postpartum in the most like biggest life shift, transition, identity crisis, feeling like the world had turned upside down, but it also looks exactly the same because I'm in like the same house, the same clothes, like doing pretty much the same things. But I feel like the foundation has been rocked from under my feet, if that's the same. But I then was navigating that plus also the business stuff and not having when I needed had a decision to make or was making certain decisions and just trying to like do things bigger and better. And in that time, I was like, I need to be a better CEO. I need to be a better leader. I need to be like, to have like bigger, like everything was just like thinking I need to do everything bigger and better and do it less like how I was doing it before because I really just had not recognized that I knew what I was doing and that I was onto something. So not having that support meant that I made decisions that have taken me about 3 years to recover from. And I will share more about this in a different little episode, but it has taken me a long time and I feel like I needed to learn the lessons and things like that. But just not having that support, I needed all the support I could get. But my brain, my perfectionist brain, goes into this over functioning like, no, I just need to do it all by myself. And also, I don't want to be pressured by anyone. And if I have a business coach, that might put pressure on me to like do big things when I'm not feeling like it. Instead of actually, and this is what I do with my clients who are navigating all different stages, including clients who are pregnant, who are postpartum, who I just love supporting them so much as well, that actually that's when I need the most support when I'm navigating a life transition, when I am traveling a lot, when I have things going on. Like I need even more support when I'm not in my day-to-day life. Not I need less support, but I need even more support to help me navigate the ups and downs that inevitably come, the decisions, the shifts, the like all of that, like just not even from this place of like, and I'm fucked if I don't have it, but from this place of like, I want to take care of me. I want to support me like the same way I want to support my kids, the same way I want to support my husband. Like I deserve support and I deserve a certain kind of support as well. And not having to have all the support for my business. And I talked about this in a different episode. I don't want to have all the support in my business come from Steve or come from a friend. Like I want to actually have dedicated support that I can go to and share whatever's on my mind and any struggles that I have and any shame that I'm feeling, and know that they're not going to be in the pool with me and they're not going to be saying, well, yeah, maybe you're right. Like they're going to actually be able to help me process the feelings, help me navigate what's going on, and not from this place of like trying to fix me or make things better, but like actually having somewhere to go that is grounded in the values that I also share and that I can have that support when things are tough. Like I need more support. And so part of what I did for this postpartum with Liam was that I got myself so much support. So in the lead up to when I was pregnant with Liam, I signed up for business coaching. I also signed up for life coaching because I knew I had like life stuff I needed to process. A lot of what I do with my clients as well, we do some like life coaching within the business coaching as well. But I knew there was like support needed in both of those. And there were so many other things I did to support myself as well. Like I really needed an iron infusion, but I didn't meet the criteria that the public hospital I was going to for them to do an iron infusion. They were like, oh, you're fine. Even though it definitely was not even close to optimal. They're like, oh, well, you're not like absolutely anemic, so you're okay. Instead of like all the other health professionals I talked to were like, you're not anemic, but you definitely could use a lot of support with your iron. So like advocating for getting an iron infusion, like just little things like that. Like I really started to shift into seeing the value of support, especially when I'm going through a life transition, especially when I have more on my plate. It's not, oh, I have more on my plate, so I need less support. It's actually, I need support to help me navigate having more on my plate and continuing to have a business. And also, even if that means having a time where you're working less, navigating that. It's not just, okay, I'm just going to work less and like see what happens, but like, how do I powerfully want to navigate pregnancy and postpartum? How do I powerfully want to navigate while having a business? How do I powerfully want to navigate traveling? How do I powerfully want to navigate looking after a parent while running a business? How do I powerfully want to navigate finding a partner or like going through a breakup or anything like that while building a business? So I just want to say, because I wish someone had said it in a way that I could really hear it when I was in that when you are going through big things in your life, so long as you still have a business, having that support is such an act of self-care and allowing yourself to safely create momentum. I was just talking about this with my one-on-one client, that there's like a couple things that I do with my clients. One of those things is we create momentum and have you going from sporadic sales to consistent sales. Then when you're in consistent sales, which is where my client's at, then we have to do the work of having you feel safe in that momentum, having you feel safe in that consistency around the sales. If we have been in the struggle, in the scramble, in the feeling behind for so long, once you stop being in that circumstance, your brain will want to pull you back into incapability just to be consistent with who you've been in the past. And I was telling this to my client, like, she's on track for 100K this year, her first year ever being able to do that. And I was like, in the next 6 weeks, your brain, like, it's going to be working like crazy to take you off track for this 100K goal. When her brain wants to be in like, okay, now I'm like on track, so I can just like go and do it myself. Instead of seeing, and this is so valuable, especially if you are a coach and you coach clients, to be able to see like when you're on track, it is so valuable to have support to keep you on track, to create that being on track as normal, to have that become what is familiar to you in your nervous system. And I was using the analogy as well of like, once you have that momentum and you have consistent sales, especially if you've been in a situation with your business where like having consistent sales or like making 100K or a full-time income on part-time hours, like when that has felt like miles away, to finally be in that reality it's going to take work and shifts to be able to have that feel safe. So the analogy I was saying is like, if you are riding a bicycle, and if you think about, if you're a parent, if you have kids, when they're riding a bicycle, like in the beginning, they don't really need a helmet because they go so slow, like they're not really needing any kind of safety from that perspective. Like they just actually can't go fast enough to need the safety mechanism of a helmet. And then if you're riding on a bike really fast down a hill, you want to have a helmet. You also want to have skill as well to help you navigate that momentum. And what we can do if we don't have, and if our nervous system can sense it, if we don't have the safety in place to have that momentum, we slow down and go back to the pace where it's okay not to have a helmet, which is going for most people to mean being at a place where you're not making a full-time income in your business and you're still in that hobby mode. That's going to be the equivalent of kind of like a toddler on a bicycle and they're just kind of figuring it out. Not to diminish that stage, but like it's still that safety. There's a certain level of safety required, and it isn't that you need to have the helmet in the full year. As you're building up to like 100K and beyond that, and you're having more momentum and you're having more clients or more customers and more people that can be angry at you or want a refund, or you have more visibility and all of that, we want to do that, have that support and have that structure and that process that I teach my clients around it as well. They're very specific things we do to have you be safe in the momentum so that you don't sabotage it, so that you don't get in your own way and take yourself off track as a means to stay safe. So once you're in that momentum, we then do the work of having you feel safe in that momentum so you can maintain it and then create even more momentum. Having support, and like for me, when I gave birth to Liam, I had at the same time business coaching and life coaching available to me. And it made such a difference even when I wasn't using it and I didn't know when I'd be able to do calls for things or anything like that. Like just knowing I had support there that I could use made such a difference to how safe I felt to be in momentum and how safe I felt to make decisions and create a business that was big. And I made some really bold decisions in that time. And I was able to do that because I had put support and safety mechanisms in place rather than thinking, okay, I've got big life stuff going on. And because of that, I need less support. Instead of what if I had support that helps me navigate this in a way that's in alignment with my values, which include spending time with my family, getting lots of rest, being able to do what I want when I want, all of that. I'm not going to sign up for something that's going to be okay, you have to be doing this, this, and this that you don't want to be doing. I want to have that support that gives me, and this is what we do in the one-on-one coaching. And this is how I love. So if you're in PGSE, you'd already be familiar with this. The way I love working myself and with clients is a blend of masculine and feminine. So we have masculine structure, which is the growth goal, momentum projects, power planning, tools like that, so that you can be in your flow and feminine within them. Because if we don't have that structure and it's just do whatever you want, whenever you want, it ends up being, especially with perfectionism, it ends up just being, we feel untethered when we don't have direction, when we don't have a certain level of clarity. So we want to have things like the growth goal, momentum projects, and there's other things I teach my clients as well in the self-trust selling process. We want to have structures like the launch experiment structure, the sales experiment structure we have. There's things that we want to have in place so that you have structure that creates direction and clarity and groundedness. You feel tethered. You feel clear. You have a path, but you can be flexible within that. You can follow your intuition within that. You can find your flow within that. So I just want to really advocate in general for getting support, and especially having higher levels of support when you are navigating transitions and when you are on track. Our perfectionist brain is often in this mentality of if I can do it by myself, I should. Instead of what would it look like to be fully supported with this? What support would I love to have? And for me, a dream come true in terms of support is I always have someone I know I can go to them with anything. And for me, for example, and then I'll wrap up. In 2019, I was hey, this is the year that I want to go to 100K and I want to be able to leave my job, my part-time job, and go full-time in my business. Big year, big transition, big goal that I had. And I signed up for coaching and it was a big investment. I signed up for coaching because I was I just need to have someone in my corner at all times. And I need to have someone in my corner who can guide me without forcing me to do things, without trying to have me do things that don't work for me, but that can really help me be in tune with myself and support me with that at any time that I'm spinning. So for example, I've talked about this story before. I did a podcast interview with quite a big podcaster YouTuber, and I thought it went really well. And then after that interview, she said to me, is it okay if I give you some feedback? I was like, sure. She's you didn't really let me ask the questions that I had. You just talked and talked and just gave me a minute or so of feedback. And the shame I felt in that moment after having felt like I aced it, and my person 100%, if they listen to this, will be oh my God, that is so helpful. To get that feedback of you didn't do it properly, and especially from someone who had more experience, more followers, all of that, I felt so ashamed. And so what I did, and this is what my clients get to do, is I WhatsApp voice messaged my coach. And I shared with her how I was feeling. and what I thought my plan was, which was I need to go and do some training. I need to go and sign up for Toastmasters or learn how to be more articulate or whatever. And just being able in that moment to get the exact coaching I needed saved me what would have been weeks, if not months, of spiraling. Just from being able to have that alone was worth the whole value of it. And I also at that time did my first ever in-person paid speaking. And I had no idea what to even charge for that. And just to be able to have someone that I could go, okay, can you help me figure out what to charge? Because they said, tell us what your fee is, what your rate is. I don't have a rate. So having someone in my corner at all times and being able to navigate, not just setting a goal, but being able to stay engaged with it, update the goal, all of that kind of thing that we had as we went on. So much of it evolved as I was evolving, and to be able to keep having that support consistently along the way was such a big reason, that I was able to make that transition and take that leap and go full time in my business. Having someone in my corner at all times with a process to follow that allowed me to be in self-trust, not a here's how to do it right, but let's have you be supported and support your intuition and support your flow and have structure in place and parameters, but in a really supportive way so that you feel like you could actually achieve the goal just by being yourself. That's what I have my clients do. We don't get them to try and be better or different. We have them achieving their goals by being themselves and letting themselves be and letting themselves shine instead of stopping themselves from shining. So that is the work that we do. Having support in place is the best thing you can do. I hope you're having a beautiful day. I'll talk to you in the next episode. If you enjoy this podcast, I recommend signing up for the waitlist for my program called Perfectionists Getting Sh, aka PGSD. This is a program designed to help you get out of your own way in your business. You're going to learn how to release your perfectionism handbrake by setting a growth goal for your business, planning properly as a perfectionist with power planning, and getting regular guilt-free clean rest. You'll learn the skills required to get out of your own way and be supported every step of the way to do it. To find out more about the program and join the waitlist today, go to samlaurabrown.com/PGSD.